I am super excited this morning to introduce all of you to our guest, Lynn Harris. She is the founder of Gold Comedy, a comedy school, professional network, and content studio where women and non binary creators launch and grow their comedy careers. A stand up producer, creator, journalist, and author, Lynn has dedicated her career to using comedy as a force for social change because when you make people laugh, you make people listen. Lynn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Lynn, I would love it if you could share your story with the listeners. First of all, how did you come about with founding Gold Comedy and really taking this position of using comedy to really reach and resonate with your audience?
Well, I've done a lot of storytelling and I've taught a lot of storytelling. And in those, it is a hard and fast rule that your story, when you create one for a stage, has to have a beginning, middle, and an end. I would be lying if my story in my life was as clearly organized as that. It is not. So I have really just kind of followed my nose and the thing this is we're going to hate this metaphor now that I started it, but the smell that I was following, what my nose liked was funny things and good things. I mean, good for the world. And so little by little, as I cultivated them separately, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to try to do these at the same time. And so what I mean is, I was always just drawn to comedy and comedies, and silly, funny things. My parents, my dad was kind of a big joker actually. And my mom was also very funny, but also an equally good audience. And we, the basically the soundtrack in our house was either opera, which is my parents' thing, can also be very funny actually, or Carol Burnett, I Love Lucy, The Muppet Show, Monty Python, and that was just normal. And they weren't trying to get me to be funny or God forbid they were not trying to get me to start a comedy career, but that was just normal. And so I loved it. I just inhaled it, loved it. And so I was just drawn. I did not make a plan, but I was just drawn to anything that was art and performance related, and writing. My mother was indirectly a writer as well. So little by little, as I cultivated, I became a very successful journalist. I developed I did stand up for about 10 years, and I wrote and co-wrote books that had sort of a seriousness of purpose, but a funny package. For example, I co-created a book with a dear friend of mine who lives right there. Hello, he's not up yet. Chris Kolb, about surviving a breakup. But what we did was we created, and this was really Chris's idea initially, created a superhero character named Breakup Girl who was there to help you survive a breakup, to get through a breakup. We have heroes who could bend steel bars. How about one who could mend broken hearts, right? And even that had kind of a social justice bent because she was a female character, but she helped everybody. And so we were trying to kind of push back on the idea that like women talk about relationships and men talk about, rotisserie football, like it.
Right.
And so the audience was was all genders. We were talking about issues back then that no one else was talking about, trans stuff, gay stuff. Like we were talking about it then. But because it was packaged with like a very powerful but also fallible and relatable superhero, people were drawn to be able to talk about those things in it was a welcoming space, right, where everyone could laugh together, even as we were talking about really serious stuff sometimes.
Stuff that's really tough. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that was and really that can't. So when I say I didn't have a plan, that the Breakup Girl came about because we were working on this book together and we realized we had more pages to fill. And we were like, if only there could be some sort of through line. And so cut to, Chris was like, how about a superhero? Great. So like we didn't have a plan for like, we'll change the world by creating a comedy superhero, blah, blah. So that was kind of how things went. And the planlessness that did have a through line, when it's also what I cultivated as a journalist eventually, when I had enough experience and kind of freedom to do that. And that was really dig into issues that are not inherently funny, or issues that people don't inherently want to laugh about. But I developed a knack, and I'm not the only one, but I developed a knack for finding ways to talk about an issue with humor that is appropriate and illuminating. And so I eventually then also worked for a human rights organization called Breakthrough, that worked primarily in the US and India. And their calling card was pop culture driven campaigns that encourage people to see a given human rights issue as real and relevant and actionable. So not something over there that's someone else's problem that maybe you'll write a letter about, but how am I part of building a culture of human rights? And we use pop culture stuff all the time. I created a series of comedy shows called Dudes Against Violence Against Women, because duh. And we were like, finally, I'll do Line Up on Purpose, and so that's super serious, but we got a bunch of dudes on stage really kind of owning their part in the culture that perpetuates gender-based violence, etc. So I'm getting ahead of it, but the point is, once I kind of started to get my footing professionally, I was able to more deliberately bring together the stuff that I loved the most, which was making the world a better place and laughing.
I think this is a really unique angle. I mentioned, like, when we were chatting quickly before we got rolling here, I like this angle very much because I work in communications, and as a communicator, like, and this is how I talk, like, with my colleagues. I'm like, I will often use comedy as a segue in some instances to try to, like, level set, or to ease into a different topic, or to, just to kind of break up the mood, because I mean, everything is always so serious, and especially in my industry, like, it's very, like, tense and very stressful. And I've used it almost my entire life. And I don't know where I picked it up. At some point, I learned, like, if you can make someone laugh, it sort of eases the tension a little bit. It kind of bursts the bubble a little bit. And,
yeah, it really does. Sorry, go ahead.
And you using, no, it's okay. No, I want you to go. You using comedy to address topics that, yes, it's really serious. It's really intense. These topics get violent reactions from people. People will, I've had people that I'm pre-interviewing for the podcast, and it won't even be a full topic conversation, but people react really quickly and really heatedly. And I don't know if that's just because of today's society and because of how things are today, but I've had, like, really abrasive reactions, and I'm like, everyone's allowed to their opinion on this show. Like, this is a safe space, and I think that's what you're doing here. And I actually wanted to acknowledge and commend you for that, because you're making it safe to talk about. Like, it's you're making it like, this doesn't have to be taboo. We can just talk about this. And I love that, because that's what this podcast is here for.
Yeah,
these
right.
things, these topics that are not out there, that are related to women, we don't have to not talk about stuff. Like, we can talk about things in other ways, and, level the playing field, or level set with each other. So I love that you're doing that. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, three things. One is thank you. Well, four. One is thank you. The second is, I certainly, there's actually at this point a lot of academic research into the role of comedy in social change. So, like, it's certainly not like my own idea, but I do care very much about it and find it to be incredibly potent. And I think a lot of times people think that when you're sort of stirring comedy into something not funny, I think sometimes people think it's just about, like, lightening the mood. And I actually think it's deeper than that, because I don't know, I'm not really talking about, like, hey, let's make rape fun. Like, that's not, like, that's not,
yeah.
But so that's not it at all. But I think what happens is, and by the way, there's a lot of great comedy about rape culture. And about, which is fair game, right? It's not, side note, it's not about making fun of the thing. it's about finding the comedy in the stuff around the thing,
Yes.
whatever the bad thing is, right?
Yes.
So in any case, but what I think really is why it's effective with your clients or whoever is not that you're just laughing to it's not just the laughing that is diffusing the tension. It's like, why are we laughing right now? It's because when two people get the same joke, they're connected. Because I remember I was traveling when I was a journalist, I was traveling in Newfoundland, and one of my favorite places on earth. And I remember finding out we were like up one night, drinking Canadian beer and doing something. I don't remember what. And we were telling jokes. And I wanted to tell a joke, that like the jokes that are like, and they're very offensive. Typically, they can, or let's put it this way, they can be offensive. Where you're like, okay, an Italian, a Greek, and a
Yeah.
Polak walk into a, And so I was going to tell one like that, but so I asked the people in Newfoundland, okay, so when you make fun of another part of Canada, which one is it? Because I was going to make that one the butt of the joke, and they were like Newfoundlanders, and I was like, no. What I mean is, who were we making fun of here? And they were like, oh no, Newfoundlanders. And so my point is, I'm not going to make only in Newfoundland are people going to get a joke. So now I learned the culture is that we make fun of Newfoundlanders in Newfoundland. Okay,
Right.
Would not have known that. So when you're in Newfoundland, you're making jokes about Newfoundlanders, you're connected, you get it, right? You and I wouldn't get the joke.
Right.
It's a long way of saying something pretty obvious, but so when you have, especially because a joke is typically the classic structure, even if it's not overt, is from the setup to the punchline. And between the setup and the punch, there's a twist. Something unexpected happens. The comic or the writer or whoever makes you think they're going in one direction, and they pivot. And so it, like, take my wife, please, sexist, great joke. 4 words, amazing joke, right? Henny Youngman.
Right.
And so if you're going to be able to follow the writer or the writing or whatever from the setup all the way around that curve to the punchline, you guys are on the same page because you are getting the same joke. So it's that moment of connection that is sort of underlying just the kind of opening the steam valve for laughing. And so that's what I think is so powerful about those moments, and why they enable people to, kind of let their guard down and be like, okay, all right, we're doing this. When you add humor to something that they initially did not want to be part of, maybe.
I really like that. I never thought of it that way. I've never thought of comedy in that fashion, and I have to tell you, I am a person that, like, at night, after the kids are in bed, my husband's always like, what do you want to watch? Like, what do you want to, and I always tell him, like, I want to watch something funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, I always want to watch something funny. I always want to watch comedy. I'm like, all day long, it's so serious. All day long, I have to worry about, like, my whole world and everyone's world in my orbit.
Yep.
Like, so I like to just at night laugh my ass off. Like, I that's what I want to do. And he's always like, oh, he wants to watch he likes to watch what is it, action movies, and I like that too. But comedy is always my go-to because it feels cathartic. It feels like a release when I get to laugh, and we laugh so much here, and I'm always, like, really proud of that because we joke around here at my house. We tease each other. Like, my kids will come up to me and be like, Mommy, we're gonna roast you. We have some jokes. And I'm like, all right, let's hear it. Go ahead. And, like, my son, like, consistently is, like, doing things like that. My daughters, like, they all like to joke, and I encourage it because I'm like, yeah, do it. Like, it's funny, as long as it's in good humor and it's something that, like, I'm open to. I'm like, why not, right?
Yeah.
I do want to also commend you on something because you started talking earlier about, like, when you were being brought up and, like, comedy was almost like filled your house basically, and that you made the through line of, like, you followed your nose. But I have to tell you, you following your intuition and doing what you're doing, you're serving such a larger purpose here with what you're doing. Like, this isn't just comedy. This is something so much more. And I don't think comedy ever is just comedy because there are so many topics that come up that, do hit a nerve with some people. Like, I've watched comedy shows on TV where you could hear the audience audibly, like, like, do one of those things. if somebody says like something not quite the right way, there's definitely, I think, a lot of talent and work that has to come behind the comic. And I'm going to ask you about your 10 years. You said you did stand up.
Yeah.
I mean, I rehearse for phone calls, so I can only imagine the rehearsals that have to take place to prepare yourself to have the right facial expression, body movement, tone of voice. All of those things are coming through in comedy. And I don't know if people realize like how complex it actually is.
Yeah, and frankly, most of the rehearsal happens on stage. Like you can like learn to I don't want to like create a fake hierarchy here, but like you can learn to play piano in your house. You
Right.
cannot become a stand-up in your house. I'm not saying that stand-up is harder than piano. I'm not making a direct
No, no, no. I
comparison.
know
I'm
what you're
just talking
talking
about
about though,
they're
but you're
just two
right.
different kinds of art. They're two different kinds of art. You can't like that's one the reason I kind of drifted away from doing stand-up was that I realized that I just did not have the will to be in clubs 4 or 5 nights a week. And that's you can't if you can't do that, you can't be a stand-up. Like
Yeah.
there's no other way to do it. It's not possible. It's like being a pilot and never flying a plane. You can't. It's like you can say you're a pilot, but you're not if you're not in a plane. you know, you can have a pilot's license, but
Right.
you're not a pilot.
Right.
You're not piloting. Um, so I think that's what a lot of people don't know is like when, and not you, but when people say like, I loved your skit, or your routine. And it's like, girl, it's anything but, and of course, yes. If you see a stand up doing their hour on, remember Premium Blend, any stand up on Premium Blend, that is like, they're doing it exactly the way they planned. But that is because they have worked on those bits of material for years.
Yeah.
And every time they get on stage, well, depending on where they are, they do they do some new stuff mixed in with some anchor stuff, and they're always figuring out like, you know what, I got to take a longer beat on that, or maybe the word kumquat would be funnier than grapefruit. I don't know. Like they're always tweaking as they go, and which I love. So that's part of what I love and loved about it. But so that's what, like, a lot of people do stand up and improv, and there are also people like me who do. I've done a little improv, but and I can improvise like myself. I can do it. I can, if I'm hosting something, it's easy for me to sort of not prepare or under prepare and kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to say it that way. I don't need to do a lot of prep. I can be okay in the moment, but like on an improv team, that's terrifying to me. And there are a lot of improvisers who are like, I don't know how you can get up there alone. So it's like, it's just, everyone has their different
Yeah.
things. But I think the question you asked me that I didn't answer yet is about gold comedy, which, as you correctly said, is comedy school and a community professional network and a content studio that where women and non-binary folks launch and grow their careers. And the thing about that is, that's also the social changey part, is that it's actually still not, two things are true at once. They're exact opposites, and they're both, oh, thank you. Two things are true at once. They are, and again, exact opposites. One is that things are so much better than they were in the 90s when I did stand up for women and non-white dudes, right? Non-straight white dudes. The same thing is also, the opposite is also true. It is terrible. So, and they're both, so like, don't be like writing angry DMs to the podcast. Like, it's both. Okay. It's both. If like, hey, it's great out here. No, it is. Yes, it is. Also, it's terrible. And what I mean is that it's still not weird it's not unusual to be the only woman in a lineup. It's I don't have all the behind the scenes data to prove this, but like, as with other industries, women work harder to get to the same place. Women work harder to get paid half the 70%. All that stuff is the same in comedy still. And there was just a club in Boston, venerable comedy club in Boston, that had an all women's night, which I'm also kind of sick of. Like, we're just comics. Can you just,
just like put us in regular? It doesn't
just,
have to be
yeah.
yeah.
It's also, it gives them cover for not having to book women on other shows. You know what I mean? We're past that. In any case, but that's fine, whatever. But the flyer that was on Instagram, this was not 1983. Okay, this was this summer. The flyer was the faces of the women, real comics, on photoshopped badly onto naked Barbie dolls. Are you kidding me? And and people, and one of the comics commented that she liked it, which fine, that's okay. That's fine if you like it, that's fine. But first of all, but like that's not the point. They liked it. No, that's not the point. Like, how would you ever? First of all, is it ever going to be dudes' night? No, every night is dudes' night.
Right.
Second of all, would it occur to you to do that like with a bunch of like naked Ken dolls? That's not a thing. It's not even. There's no
right. Like what's
there.
like what's the logic behind that? If it wasn't women, like why? Like what? Yeah. Why the Barbie doll thing?
And you were just sending the message that directly from your club that you think women comics are different. And I hate the word objectified is overused. So I'm trying to avoid it, but that you don't think of them as real comics like that. And therefore I don't want to, and this is like a venerable club, so I'm not shocked because it's, it's old fashioned, but still, so you're sending the message that you aren't interested in women at all. Like I'm not saying that's true. I'm just, because I don't know. I don't know the mindset behind it. I'm just saying that's the message.
You're right. No, you're right though, because I've pointed that out to my husband a few times, just like, because I have a deep appreciation for marketing. Like I really like marketing, and I like to look at what gets put out into like the ether. Like I like seeing stuff, and there's certain things that will come across, and there's been ads, like we're watching TV and these are ads from like big major corporations, and I'm like, oh, ew. And he's like, what? And I'm like, can you go back? Like, now we can rewind commercials. And I'm like, are you not getting the undertones here? And I'll like start pointing stuff out. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess. And I'm like, and I always say to him, I'm like, it's this kind of thing that like, and with the example you provided, it's those kinds of things that it's tone deaf really. And then it's also like the thought behind it, because it's not just going out to like, okay, maybe the comedians were fine with it and maybe they approved it and said it was all good with them. That's fine. Like that's all good. But it's really like the next layer of it. And some people, like even my husband will tell me like, Jen, like you're going too deep with that, or you're looking into that too far. But I'm not though, because if you look at movies and ads from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, it's like shocking. And now I watch stuff and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this movie was funny, and I'll put it on the TV, and my kids will be watching it, and then I'm like, oh wait, this is like really offensive.
Right. We've done that so many times. Been like, okay.
I'm like appalled. Yeah, I watch stuff now and I'm like, oh shit, like this is like really inappropriate and really offensive. And I'm like, damn. And my kids are like, this is funny. And I'm like, ooh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Mom's gonna change it.
I know. Well, my kids, they're 16 and 18 now, but when they still tease us because we pretty much let them watch anything. But the deal was that they had to let us pause, so we'd be watching and I'd be like, okay, pause. And then my kid would be like, Mom, I know what slut shaming is, or so, okay, then we'll proceed with Dirty Dancing, okay. But like, but this is why, this is the whole thing. This is why it matters, because with gold, yes, from day to day, the idea is, we are going to, comedy's hard for everyone. Comedy is hard for the straightest, whitest, dudest dude, right? It's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but it's still harder for people who are not the straightest, whitest, cissest dude. And so I would like to make it easier. I would like to help make it easier for the people for whom it is still hard, because they still get their picture on a naked Barbie, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, like full stop. If that's all we were doing, full stop, that would be great. But the interesting thing, I think the sort of like the big vision is, well, what happens when we help that many more people who are outside the comedy norm become successful comedians in whatever we do, everything. So whether it means they get into the writer's room at John Oliver, which, by the way, is a bad example because their writer's room has historically been very diverse and fantastic. But whatever, they get into writers' rooms, they get on stage, they do solo shows, they get on, they produce things, they're behind the camera, there's so many, and even you mentioned commercials. Side note, men are still 2 or 3 times more likely than women to be the funny one in commercials. And also 4 to 5 people, consumers, prefer their brands to be funny. So, which is a whole other topic that's interesting, because it's not because they want their brands to be entertaining. The idea is that funny brands inspire trust.
Yeah. But that's
which makes sense.
But that makes sense. It makes sense. What you said earlier, yeah.
Right. So I'm also including like women who are like writing commercials. So you're not like so it's not like that same damn commercial with like the dude messing up the laundry and the woman going, oh, right. You, whatever.
Yeah.
So the point is, in the aggregate, when the vision here is, if we're able to kind of shove that many more people who represent some sort of diversity into the industry, then we make it, it's going to sound the opposite, but like we make it not that interesting, for someone to be different, and we normalize. That's the whole thing about using culture to change culture, which my old organization used to say. We normalize all sorts of different faces, voices, etc. in comedy. That's better for the industry. It's better for the product, as is true in any industry, right? And then also bring it back to the very beginning. Comedy matters because comedy helps define what's normal. It helps define points of view. It helps define power structures. And so the more we can, never mind if the comic themselves is talking about an issue, doesn't matter. They could be slipping on a banana peel. But the more we normalize difference in comedy, the better we all are, the better comedy is, and the more power we give to those, overused word, but underrepresented points of view. And we're all better for it. And that's why, so when you make people laugh, you make people listen. Great. Let's build a world that listens to more different people.
Yeah.
And so that's the big, that's the sort of big, I would like to contribute. Gold can't do it by itself, but I would like to contribute to that kind of change.
If someone listening here is saying like, what, this actually sounds like something I'd be interested in. I'm going to pull the website up again for Gold Comedy. How would that work? How would they just go to the website and contact you through there? It's like a sign up?
With a few exceptions, typically the way we work is we have a core community. And so instead of, this is unusual, instead of paying class by class and just taking one class after another, or just taking one class and leaving, whatever, we operate on a membership basis. So you join for the year. And typically people stay 2 or more years, because when you join, you get not only unlimited access to all the classes we offer in what we call the club. So you can take all the classes. You can take all the classes more than once. People do that also. You get access to, we have super friendly open. It's mostly online, so you can be wherever you are.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, which, yes, you can do comedy online. We've all learned that. We knew it before the pandemic, but now we really know it. And you have access to super friendly open mics on Monday, celebrity and pro speaker series on Wednesdays, a constant rotation of classes. We have sketch writing going and stand-up. We have sketch boot camp happening right now. Stand-up boot camp starts next week. We have, we're teaching a whole class on how to edit for comedy, how to edit digital video for comedy, which P.S., SNL just disbanded its sketch team. Please don't destroy, because one of the dudes is now a cast member. And so now is an opportunity for SNL, who has had historically very funny digital sketch teams, and they have been 100% white dudes, which how? And Gold has 6 digital sketch teams making funny sketches.
Wow.
And you have to, that's a selective process that happens once a year. We have seasons. But you can also, if you want to be on a sketch team, but you don't have a lot of experience yet, you can also join and take all of our sketch classes and do all of our sketch workshops and learn how to edit, learn how to produce, and learn how to do lighting, and learn how to do sound, and learn how to do all those things, because you need that. And then put yourself in a position to be on one of our teams. So, but we are definitely, we're very welcoming to novices. We have people from, with tons of experience who are leveling. The point is, you can level up from wherever you are. So you don't have to be, you don't have to, like, there's no such thing as like, well, I'm not ready yet. No, you're ready. Like, wherever you are, you're ready. And we have people who started, I'm thinking of one woman named Rocky who started comedy as her third career. Second and a half. She was a high school art teacher, and also a volunteer firefighter. And now even though she is still taking care of, her son has extra needs, and she takes care of her grandchildren, but she really went all in on comedy with Gold. And she lives in North Carolina. And just this week, I finally met her because she and 4 other Goldies were part of a solo show festival that one of our instructors, Iris Barr, who was also like super famous and very cool. She was, I can tell you who she was, but she actually, Iris couldn't be at her own festival because she's shooting an Amazon Prime series as it turns out, in New Mexico this week. So Iris couldn't be there. But anyway, so Rocky came from just started stand up with us, and now had her own show in New York City the last couple of days as part of this festival downtown. So in any case, so Rocky started with just the will to do it. So anybody can give it a whirl, and we do. We take it very seriously, but we're really nice, and so we make it so that you don't have to show up at mics where you're the only 35-year-old, 40-year-old woman with a bunch of white dudes with hoodies and backpacks. And again, maybe they're very nice. I'm sure, I don't know.
But I know you're talking about that. No, I know you're talking about though, because it is intimidating. It's intimidating in any industry, and I see it on the corporate side. So that is intimidating to be like, yeah. As you were talking. So listeners, I'm going to link Gold Comedy, the website, into the description for the video, for the podcast, so you guys can check it out, because we do have listeners across the US, across the globe. It's international. So I would love for you guys to check it out. But what I'm getting at here is that as you were talking, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, anyone could start, anyone could get into this. And then I was imagining myself doing it, and I was like, I would be terrified.
But that's the thing. We're so nice. So we really give you, and even, I'm not even sure that a room full of 25-year-old white dudes is intimidating. They just might not be your people, right?
Right.
They might, who knows? But they might not. And we're your people. And it doesn't mean that we're not diverse. We are. It doesn't mean that we have one point of view or one type of joke, or women, am I right? It's not, we're not that. And we're not even 100% women, so it's because we're just nice. So it's a really safe space. Also, even if you're in the middle of your career, just to find your people, make funny stuff, just let's do this. And it's just, we just get to focus on the funny stuff.
I like it too, because healing is laughing is such a healing thing for the body. And there's been actual legitimate cases where people laugh themselves into a cure. And it sounds kind of nuts to say it, but I've heard it, I've read it, I've read the research on it, and it does have an impact. That's why, again, like I said, we laugh a lot in my house, and I like that, because that really brings this other energy to it. So I think you creating this safe space for people to come and practice their craft, and even if they decide not to go too far with it, or if they just want to stay within Golds, at least you're leveraging a part of your creativity that's also feeding your soul, which also I heard a lot in what you were talking about this morning, Lynn. your energy and the way that you're talking about this space is very much like it's something that, well, one, it sounds like it was something you were meant to be doing. So it like that in itself is like a big deal because so many women, like myself included, like I've talked on other episodes about like how I was really lost and like what I was trying to do with myself and what was making me happy until I was like in my late 30s. A lot of women come on here and say that like they hit like a fork in the road or they hit this moment where they're like, oh my God, like I'm not happy with anything I'm doing. Like I need to pivot, and you've made that, you've like blazed that path. So I think that's really awesome that you've taken this route and now you founded Gold Comedy, which is helping other people to step into that framework and know like, oh, this is a safe space, like I can practice. And because it's online and because it's virtual across the world, people can tap into this and say like, I'd really like to get into this, I don't know what to do, I'm starting out brand new, like where am I starting from?
Yeah.
So this is such a
Yep.
great service that you're providing people to come together also as well, because even, like for, I use the podcast as an example. Because of this podcast, I've gotten this like great tribe of women that now I'm in contact with all the time to be like, oh, just checking in, which, Lynn, by the way, I do that to all the guests, just
Good. Good. That's great.
sporadically whenever it pops into my head. I'm like, ooh, I haven't talked with Lynn or I haven't talked with so and so in a while, and I'll just like shoot a note and be like, hey, like just checking in, like I hope everything's well. It's creating that community is also like incredibly important, which is lacking a lot in today's world. Everyone's
Mhm.
very like siloed at home just with a device, and this opens up a little bit more for folks. So I think this is such a great service that you're providing. Is there any
Thank you.
thing that you would like to leave the listeners with? Any like final thoughts that, really resonate with you that you want people to hear?
Well, this is a plug for something we do at Gold, but I'm saying it
Yeah.
specifically because I think it makes people go, oh, yeah, I could do that. And that is the following. We also have we have a class called Build and Pitch, or depending on how much space we have, Build and Pitch Any Idea or Develop and Pitch Any Idea. And it's taught by Ryan Cunningham, who is amazing. She was a producer on Broad City, Search Party, Amy Schumer. Like she's got the credentials. And what she does, this is a premium class that we offer about once a quarter, where she takes you whatever idea you have. Could be for a TV show, could be for a podcast, could be for a film, could be for a web series. Typically TV shows, but not necessarily. You could have the tiniest little seedling of an idea. Like, everyone in my family is a dentist. There's probably something funny there. Could be as much as you show up with. And in 12 weeks, through her magical process, you come out on the 12th week ready to pitch your show to uh, 3 TV executives are there just who've been in the business for a while. They're not actually, it's not a real pitch, but things do come out of this. Um, where you where you are ready to give an industry standard practice polish pitch for your show that has come from may have come from nothing but an idea. And what is kind of magical about this class, and by the way, shows do go on from this class to get into development, turn into a web series, which we have one now out there called Rat Czar that started in this class, that's fully produced and done out there in the world. Um, Others are in development. And what the reason I'm mentioning it now is that a wide range of people do take this class, but to me the most kind of juicy population who takes this class are women who are, successful in their own careers, whether those careers are entertainment related or not, who have this idea for a thing that they can't stop thinking about. And whether it's like post COVID or whether it's like empty nest, like whatever it is, they're like, I'm doing this. And they're very, very serious. They buckle down, they get the job done, and they really have magic happen by just finally learning this skill of this formula, this process of communicating this thing that is so important to them, getting it out of their head, out of a drawer, off their heart, into a format that can connect with people who can help them make it happen. There's Billy, who is a public health, she works in public health. She has teenage kids. Wrote a show called, and I'm going to swear because it's the best title in the world, wrote a show called Batshit Debbie that's loosely autobiographical, about her ADHD, et cetera. That's now in development in Canada. That she did in this. So like, these are people like you and me, and, who are successful in something maybe entertainment related or not. One of them is someone taking it now is a veterinary oncology surgeon, working on the show, that she has on her heart. And so it really is transformative for people, not just to produce this thing, but to know that they can, and to have it out in the world and really be a thing, and not just an idea like, I should do that, I should do that, I should do that. And it's particularly this sort of population of women in their 40s, 50s who really make that magic happen in this show. So in this class. So I just wanted to say that, because people, you think of like the comedy, they think, oh, I have to go be a stand-up, or comedy, oh, I have to,
honestly, I'm glad you said that, and I'm sorry to interject.
That's fine, go for it.
I'm glad you said that, because that's literally exactly what I was like, oh, okay, so Gold Comedy, like you're going to go online, you're going to take virtual classes. This is just strictly stand up, or just like, like basically fine tuning your craft, or making sure you have like your content for everything. But what you're doing now, what you're saying now is actually so much more. So Gold Comedy is not just stand up. We're talking about, you're pulling people together and you're offering courses like this. That's actually really big. So that's
no one else does that.
If you become that, no, that's a huge, honestly, like you just like my ears like perked up, because there's a lot of folks that have come on this show that would be highly interested in that. So I am going to want to get more information from you on like when that is coming around, because I'd like to share that with some of my former guests, because they would be like incredibly interested. There's been a lot of writers that have come on here that have stories already that are ready to go. There's a woman that came on a couple of seasons back, and she shared her menopause story and she put it into a book, and it was incredible. Like I was crying reading her book the whole time. And I'm like, this could be something that would really help other women if it really got to like mass market. So that's huge. So if somebody signed up, let's say like for the annual plan, I pulled up your website, by the way, while you were talking. As soon as you started talking about this, I was like, oh my God, what else did I miss? Yeah, I was like, what else did I miss in here? This is huge. So you'd sign up for like a year membership, and then you'd gain access to these kinds of courses to help.
Typically, it's either you, typically people, join for the year, and then they have almost all of the classes included, except our premium classes, which are more in depth, like focused, longer, and typically organized around. Like this class, the pitching class is actually like a college level class that Ryan developed in a college setting that now she's exported to us. But so if you're a member, the premium classes are discounted for you. If you join through a premium class, you also get included in the tuition is your first year of Gold. So when you join the premium class, you also get access to, it's just basically two doors into the same place. So it depends on what your interests and needs are. But it's all on our website. And there, Ryan's, I just opened enrollment for Ryan's class for November. No, December, November. Anyway, late fall. And for your listeners, if you DM me at Gold Comedy or at Lynn Harris and tell me that you want to either join the club or take a class, I'll hook you up with a discount code if you just tell me that you heard me on this podcast. 10% discount. Yes, that's Lynn, not nothing, especially with the premium classes. So yeah,
that's awesome.
10%
oh my
off
God,
for your
thank
listeners.
You so much for that. Mm-hmm. You got like my creative brain going. Like, by the way, it was like it was firing so hard just now. I got so excited. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving me your time this morning. I really appreciate you sharing all of this. Listeners, I'm going to link Gold Comedy in the description here, so you can check out the website too and check out the courses that are available. I was already scanning through them. And then Lynn, let's connect on, the class that you were just talking about, the pitch class too, because I would love to hear more about that. Listeners and viewers, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. We appreciate you. Excuse me, early morning frog in my throat. And we will catch you on the next one.